I think now what we see with LLM is the conversational search has been unlocked,
Yeah.
and most of the uh, startups and companies that work now on revolutionizing search is focusing on enabling the conversational search, where search is no longer just what you put in the search box, but instead it can kind of have a back and forth conversation with you about what exactly you're looking for. Is it this or that? And the accuracy of intent understanding is much better now with the LLMs as well.
Hi, friends, and welcome to this exciting episode of Leading with Data. Today, I have Khalife with me, who has immense experience in analytics, data science, and has been part of this industry for more than a decade. And his experience spans from startups, different industries, different experience to academia to right now he's at Google as director of data science. So, looking forward to the discussion. Khalifa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Great. So, Khalifa, let's start from where your journey in data science started. So what were those early days for you, and then what was that either transformation into data science, or where did your journey with data science start?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
Mhm.
So actually, my journey with data science started before the data science was called data science. It was called at that time data mining.
Okay.
And I was doing my master's degree in computer science. And then data mining, and I'm talking about like 2005, 2006.
Mhm.
And at that time, data mining has become a hot research topic in computer science, and I was very much attached to that topic because
Mhm.
it was interesting, a lot of creativity there. Although there wasn't like so much data available at that point to play with, there wasn't very like solid machine learning or data mining tools available that you can use out of the box,
Mhm.
but still it was very interesting field and domain for research. So I did my research for my master's thesis in the field of data mining. And if I still remember the paper that we published out of that work, it was enhancing web clusters quality by using implicit user feedback. So that
Mhm.
was the work back in 2005, 2006. And then I came to the US for the PhD,
Mhm.
and during my PhD program, I worked on a very interesting domain called the glycoinformatics, which maybe many people are not aware of this domain. But the
Mhm.
glycoinformatics is a domain that is trying to use computer science and computation to solve glycomics problems. And glycomics or glycans, it refers to the carbohydrates in our body.
Mhm.
So the microbiologist and biochemist, they do a lot of work to study the impact of carbohydrate changes in our body. And the research that I was part of was focusing mainly on studying if we can diagnose cancer in early stages by studying the changes that happen in the carbohydrate in the body. A very complicated field for someone who has just computer science background,
Mhm.
but it was like the cause was very noble, that you are trying to help solving one of the important problems in the societies, which is like finding not a cure of the cancer, but a way to diagnose it early enough so it
Mhm.
can be treated. So I did my work in this domain, and luckily at that time, I'm talking here about 2013.
Mhm.
2013, when I was about to start working on my dissertation, the topic of big data has become at that point like a hot topic in the research community and
Mhm.
in the industry. So
Right.
everyone started talking about the big data. Hadoop came out around that time, and everyone was trying to see how they can use Hadoop to do things.
Mhm.
So I directed my research at that point to see how we can use big data to scale up machine learning techniques. So
Interesting.
traditional machine learning techniques, they were not designed to work with big data.
Hmm.
So I kind of directed my research to see how we can redesign some of the machine learning techniques to work with big data. And my focus was on the Bayesian network. And the application for that scaled up technique was to apply it for the glycoinformatics domain. So they have a very interesting problem there where they try to predict the glycan structure um, from the pieces of that glycan structure that they detect in their studies. And then one way to help them like predict at scale was to build a machine learning model that can actually take all these pieces of glycan structures and predict what is most likely the glycan structure exists in this biology or biological sample. So that was like my study or my research. And then towards the end of the last year of my PhD, I wanted to get into the industry because I felt that in the use cases in the industry with the revolution of big data has become more and more interesting, and there is a need for researchers in the industry. So I joined a company called Career Builder, which is in the recruitment domain.
Yeah.
And Career Builder was at that point investing in building their semantic search engine.
Right.
So I joined the company as a PhD intern, and then I was given the opportunity to use their 20 years worth of data to simply like crunch the data and see if we can get some insights that would help us build the foundation of the semantic search engine there. Very interesting work. So I joined as a PhD intern there, and then I joined them again for the last summer in the PhD program, and then I joined them full time after graduation. So I was lucky enough to join, I think, at the right time, which I always tell my mentees that it is important usually to join at the right time and be at the right place, right?
Correct.
And work with the right people. So I think all these components came together. So I joined at the right time. The company just started investing in data science. There wasn't actually data science
Hmm.
title in the company. And then I think when I joined, we were only two data scientists in the company. And then there was a lot of data that no one tapped before. And there was very interesting problem to solve using that data. So I started working on the domain of in the domain of semantic search and recommendation engines. And then after 4 years of investing in building the in-house semantic search engine and recommendation engine, I learned a lot throughout that journey, and that was like my first experience in the industry. But then after that, I decided it's time to move to a new domain because I feel that, okay, now I know a lot about the recruitment domain. I got very rich hands-on experience in building semantic search engine and recommendation engine using AI techniques. So the next challenge was in the e-commerce domain. So I joined the fifth largest e-commerce platform in the US, which is Home Depot. For people who are not from the US, Home Depot is the largest home improvement company in the world, but it operates only in the US, Canada, and Mexico, so in North America. So I joined Home Depot, and my mission was to build a recommendation team, a team that would build the recommendation engine for the website in-house.
Okay.
So started with that mission accomplished after 2 years being in this role. And then after that, I was promoted to oversee search and recommendation for the HomeDepot.com. Same thing, we started working on the vector search for the website. You can call it also semantic search to replace the keyword-based search that was in place. And then we did very interesting work there, and we published a lot of papers about that work. And then as a result, after that, I was also promoted to oversee the entire online data science portfolio for Home Depot. So overall, I spent 4 years
Wow.
with Home Depot building the online data science solutions. And then after that, again, like it's always important to keep challenging yourself in your career. I thought that this has become now my comfort zone, new comfort zone. So it's time to step out your comfort zone. Unluckily, at that point, Google has a position for director of data science, which is part of the ads organization, Google Ads organization. So I decided to join Google and take that challenge. So I have been in this role now for almost uh, 2 years, right? I will be exactly 2 years in a few months. And it has been a journey, right? Google is a great company. You work with uh, best minds in the AI community, especially, and you always like ahead of everything. So it's very interesting. Of course, it comes with responsibility as well, because as you know, you need always to use AI responsibly at Google. But it has been a very interesting journey, and I feel privileged and lucky to have that opportunity to work at Google.
Wow, that's an incredible journey, and very different kind of problems at different points. Uh,
Yes.
if I were to ask you, how would you describe yourself? So, are you inherently a researcher solving industry problem, or someone who seeks out challenge? So, I'm just curious to know how you would describe yourself, because this journey has so many different
Yeah.
perspectives. So, it would be great to hear it from
That's that's a great question. Usually, during the interviews, they would ask you like, if your team would describe you, how they would describe you,
you.
right? And I think if I would answer the question from that perspective, like if you ask my team, how would you describe Khalifa? I guess all the people I work with would probably agree on that one value or one thing, which is creative and innovative and researcher. So I like always to challenge the status quo
Mhm.
by not taking the existing solution as this is the best way to solve a problem, or by taking a know that this problem maybe cannot be solved as a final answer, right? So I try always to challenge myself and my team by taking on challenging problems and try to propose creative ways and innovative ways to solve these problems. So I think that summarizes like how I think about my work, and that's probably what makes me always excited to wake up every day and start working, because tons of interesting, challenging problems that have not been solved before, or maybe had been solved but not in the optimal way, and then you can think creatively about how to solve these problems differently now with all the advancements that happen in AI. And AI absolutely can unlock a lot of opportunities for the business, but it needs someone to initiate, the work, someone to simply think about how can AI now make people's lives better? How can AI now help the business grow faster? How can AI now uh, maximize the value or the benefit of the products that our customers are using? So AI is as you know, like and as our CEO always says, like this is the most profound technology that probably was introduced by mankind. And for that reason, I think it's a great opportunity for everyone in this domain to always think outside the box how AI can solve things differently. And I find that very interesting, and I find that it always, maybe not always, but I think 90% of the time it is the case that yes, you can solve things differently with AI. So that's actually what again like excites me about being in the data science domain.
Great. And you have been part of very different sub industries, so to say, within data
Yes.
science. So, do you track these domains still, or you take a problem, go deep in it, and then once you change the domain, you move out of it? Because I'm just trying to think glycoinformatics, then semantic
Hmm.
search, recommendation engines, Bayesian networks. All of these are almost fields in themselves today. So
Yeah.
how do you I mean, do you still keep up with what's happening in these different domains, or it's
Hmm. Yeah, I think it is very challenging given the busy schedule that you have in your day-to-day job
Mhm.
to keep up with everything happening in these domains. However, I do my best to go and attend the conferences that still focus on these areas that I'm interested in. So mainly search recommendations, information retrieval in general,
Mhm.
and of course, like the deep learning, natural language processing, natural language understanding. So these like AI domains or fields that I'm really interested in and still interested in, I try to stay up to date about what's going on in these domains by going in to the top tier conferences that focus in these areas. That's kind of my trick or my tip to all for everyone who would like to keep up with things that they're interested in, yet their day-to-day job is very busy and they cannot actually keep reading the uh, most recent updates that come from the community via blog posts or via research papers. So going to these conferences, industry conferences, research conferences, listen to the talks from the thought leaders, also following those thought leaders in these domains on Twitter, which is now X platform, or LinkedIn, especially, is very also important to keep up to date. So I try to keep up to date with the things, with the domains or fields that I'm very interested in still, especially the information retrieval industry, like search and recommendations,
Mhm.
by just attending these conferences. Bioinformatics, to be honest, not really, because I think I did my research there and I found that it was very interesting at some point in my career when I was still in the pure research kind of mode as a PhD student. But then after graduation, after getting into the industry, I kind of totally disconnect from the bioinformatics domain. So I'm not focused on that or following actually the updates in the bioinformatics domain, but I'm more attached to the search, recommendations, natural language understanding, natural language processing, and so on.
Great, great. And any particular conferences you would recommend to people which you found really very useful in keeping up with what's happening in the industry?
Yeah, a few of them. Number one for me is KDD.
Okay,
This
yeah,
is the conference that I
uh,
always
yeah.
try to go to get the updates about what's going on in the data science industry and research. And another one is for the search community, especially Wisdom, the web search and data mining. Um, and the third one is SIG-IR, which is also focused on the information retrieval. And then NeurIPS is like very heavy theoretical conference. Usually, like if you are not really in an active researcher in the deep learning and reinforcement learning, it is like above your head. It's too much, like the stuff, the content that they present there. But
Yeah,
it is still a great networking opportunity if it is not, if the topics that they cover actually doesn't really relate to your work. Still, it's a great networking opportunity because I think most of the prominent AI names will always be at
yeah.
NeurIPS. So those are a few of the conferences that I try to attend every year or every other year.
Got it. And among these different industries, right, you've come across a whole variety of problems, right? So, for example, for career builder, it would be a very different problem to
Yeah,
Home Depot to now at Google Ads. So, can you tell a few of your, most or few of the projects which had most impact on you as a data scientist, and then what were the challenges, what were the kind of novelty things you tried, and what worked, what did not
yeah,
work, and then what impact did they have on your journey as a data scientist?
yeah, sure. I think if I would highlight a few of the projects that really impact my career, and I would always say that I'm proud that I was part of the team that worked on those projects. One of them would be the graph-based recommendation engine for Career Builder,
Hmm.
which was probably one of the first graph-based recommendation engines in the industry at that point. We're
Yeah.
talking about uh, 2015 and 2016, so around that time, we
Yeah.
decided to go ahead and build a graph-based recommendation engine using Spark and Hadoop ecosystem. There wasn't like really solid graph platforms that you can use for these kind of things. So um, and the result is that this engine is in production, serving millions of job seekers to find the right job that they're looking for. So the impact was awesome there, and millions of job seekers are benefiting from that. And then when I joined Home Depot, I think we have done quite a few very interesting projects that I'm proud of.
Hmm.
Within the recommendation itself, I think the um, personalized recommendation and the serving the real-time recommendation, user-based recommendations using deep learning was very interesting and challenging problem. At that point also, it was not easy to do the inference of the deep learning models in real time at
Hmm.
scale. Like we're
Yeah.
talking about the fifth largest e-commerce platform in the US. So
Correct.
millions of customers every day, and you need to do the inference in real time using deep learning models. It wasn't really something trivial or that people do all the day. So it
Hmm.
was very challenging to figure out all the building pieces of how to serve those recommendations in real time. That was another project that I'm proud of. And then on the search side, the vector search that we built for Home Depot is another flagship thing.
Hmm.
Um, I think it was very challenging because the keyword-based search engine at that point was in place for years, and now you come with, well, we're gonna now do search totally differently using AI.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take the queries, we're gonna generate now embeddings of the queries, we're gonna generate embeddings of the products based on the titles and descriptions, we're gonna generate embeddings of the user sessions. So there's a lot of components there. And all of that needs to be done at the end of the day in milliseconds, because latency in search is not something that customers usually like
Correct.
tolerate. So if the search engine has latency, high latency, customers will simply just close the page and leave and go somewhere else. So just to do all of that in milliseconds, generate all the needed embeddings, and then do the matching between the query and the millions of products that you have in the catalog, and serve the results in milliseconds, and apply then the business rules on top of that, what needs to be ranked top, what needs to be ranked lower. All of that is a lot of components gets into the search. So that was very interesting and challenging problem to solve. And I would like to give tribute here to the man who was really behind delivering this project, Simon, who
Hmm.
probably you, if you follow me on LinkedIn, unfortunately he passed away suddenly a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
Um, and this genius, he was actually the man behind the implementation of vector search that we did at Home Depot, and he was the man behind delivering it and put it in action. So we are sorry for losing him. I think the whole humanity lost a great and genius man like Simon.
Yeah.
So I just want to give tribute to him.
Sure. Sure. No, thanks. Thanks for mentioning that. And just on that problem specifically, right, as you mentioned, one of the key challenges is even for inference you need very different infrastructure. So
Yes.
did you parallelize the inference process, or you had to go for higher GPUs and then machines which were doing it, and how did you kind of reduce this to milliseconds?
Yeah, this is very interesting questions that probably would take days to answer, with details. But ultimately, what we end up doing is doing the inference in real time, where you have a vector that represents a query
Hmm.
and pool of millions of vectors that represent the products. In this case, let's say if it's this simple matching between query and product. In order to do that in real time, think of like if you would like to do that any kind of cosine similarity or Euclidean distance between the query vector and the pool of product vectors. If you'd
Mhm.
like to do that, it's going to take long time. It's not going to be possible if you do KNN using any of those similarity metrics.
Yeah.
But the researchers and the industry actually started to create, that point, it wasn't known as vector database, but they started to create approximate KNN, where if I have a vector and I have millions or billions of vectors that I need to match against, with that approximate KNN, they can actually do the approximate matching, not the exact matching, but the approximate matching in real time. And this is the technique that we tried. And we had to go and evaluate few open source platforms for the
Mhm.
approximate KNN.
Okay.
But unfortunately, with all the open source, there wasn't stability in the performance. So then what we had to do is we had to go and work with a startup
Mhm.
that was building the first vector database. And
Interesting.
the vector database was about this idea of, okay, if you have vectors that you want to store in a like a database, in like a database storage, and then you would like to run a query to retrieve similar vectors from that vector database, then they would do that in real time.
Yeah.
So we partnered with one of the startups that was building that product, and we were the very first customer that worked with them.
Mhm.
So we actually worked with them throughout the process of designing the product, to testing the product, to validating, to ultimately put it in production. And that was the way we solved the problem.
Very
In the
interesting.
meantime, our machine learning engineering team was looking into how to improve the open source libraries that do the approximate kin, and they started to kind of solve the problems that we identified in these libraries, the stability issues, the scalability issues. So they started to work there, and it took them a lot of effort there. But
Mhm.
ultimately, they were able also to kind of make one of those open source libraries in a good shape that we can also use it in production. But so these are like some of the things that we did to in order to be able to serve the deep learning inference in production in real time for the search. And without those, like the vector database startups, without the approximate KNN, it wouldn't be possible to do that in real time.
Interesting. And all of this was before the, LLMs craze kind of took over,
Yes,
and vector databases actually became one of the focus areas for people.
exactly,
So
exactly.
very
And
interesting.
one of those, as I said, like one of those startups that is now really booming
Mhm.
with the LLM. This is one of the startups that we worked with, and we, as I said, like partnered with them from the product design phase all the way until they made the final product. So I'm always proud of that. That you kind of ahead of the industry by seeing what is coming, and you partner with a startup that is have that vision to build something, and then just a couple of years after that, you see that this become now a trend in the industry. And this is small startup that was at that point, I think two people, three
Yeah.
people. It is now, one of the fast growing companies in the US.
Correct, correct. And fundamentally the space, right? You mentioned the move from keyword based search to semantic search and then
Yep.
vector based search. Uh, I think the overall industry is now looking at LLM based retrievals
Hmm.
or searches, or slightly different UX to search itself, right? So what is
Yeah.
your view on how would search as a product evolve from here? What kind of interface do you see in
Hmm.
future? And then do you see both the semantic search as we know it today and LLM based search to coexist in future, or you see one replacing the other? So what are your thoughts on the entire search space in its future?
Yeah, this is a great question. So if you think of the limitation and challenges of the semantic search or vector search, it was mainly the those models or the search engines that was designed this way, they were unable to unlock the conversational search. Conversational search means when you kind of hold conversation with the customer about what they're looking for, right? So you still rely on the search box, what the customer put there, and you go and you try to understand their intent from what they put in the search box, and then you come back with the results, right?
Mhm.
I think now what we see with LLM is the conversational search has been unlocked,
Yeah.
and most of the uh, startups and companies that work now on revolutionizing search is focusing on enabling the conversational search, where search is no longer just what you put in the search box, but instead it can kind of have a back and forth conversation with you about what exactly you're looking for. Is it this or that? And the accuracy of intent understanding is much better now with the LLMs as well. So let's, for example, take an interesting use case when I was at Home Depot, which was like the project shopping.
Mhm.
Project shopping is when someone comes to the website, they're working on a small project or medium project for do it yourself, DIY.
Mhm.
So in that case, the customer in this case is not shopping for one item, they're
Yeah.
shopping for multiple items to complete the project.
Mhm.
If you think of the existing search experience in most of the home improvement websites like Home Depot, it is still rely on the search box. You would put like, if you're working on a home a bathroom renovation
Yeah.
project, you would search for a faucet, or you would search for a shower head or a shower knob or a sink, but then you have to search individually for everything in
Yeah.
order to get what you want. Now with conversational search, you can describe exactly what you're working with. You can say, I'm working in a bathroom renovation. I'm interested in, let's say, a brush stainless steel color. I'm interested in maybe the white color for the rest of the bathroom. The paint color is white, and then you said, show me all the items that I need to complete the project.
Yeah.
And given this context with LLM now, you can take that context and you can understand what the customer is looking for, and then you can return a list of all the products that the customer need to complete their project. That wasn't possible with
Okay.
semantic search. That wasn't possible with the vector search. We have tried hard to make it possible with vector search, but it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
I think this is where the future of search is going to be, is you are now unlocking the conversational search experience for customers where they can express what is in their mind. And with the LLM power, you can now understand what is their intent, what they're working on, what they would like to see, and then you can return results accordingly. So that's where I see the future of search, and that's where I see the excitement of the search is gonna come from. And we have seen many startups working on this kind of search engine, enabling this kind of search engine these days. I think Victera is one of them that I've been tracking and following, and I think they're making great progress there. And there are many others.
Okay. So you think that the entire search space would over time move to a conversational search, or do you still see use cases where the vector search or the semantic search would be lot better suited, lot better?
Yeah, I don't think in the short term or midterm we would see the conversational search taking over the traditional search.
Mhm.
Users usually, it takes long time to change users' behavior. So users still tend to use the search box with a brief kind of description of what they're looking for, or search for a specific product, specific item. I think what's going to happen is ultimately they're going to be like a routing layer in top of
Yeah.
the search engine, where if the question is of that length, with so many number of words or so on and so forth and details, maybe this is an LLM kind of search, then you send it to the LLM engine. But if it is like a straightforward keyword, a single keyword or a couple of keywords, or a model number or something that the customer looking for, it's very specific, then no need to go to the LLM route. So you just send it to the vector-based search or the semantic search engine. So I think it's going to be like The future is the multi search architecture, where there are multiple search engines behind the scene, and based on the query the customer put in the search box, you decide where to route that search, that query.
Yeah, yeah. Or I mean, one of the potential approach could be you could actually use LLM to decide whether this is a exact search or a conversational search, which use case it is actually
Hmm.
benefited to.
Yep.
Very interesting. And during this journey, and specifically, at Home Depot, you said you also built this team which was responsible for building the recommendation engines and personalized journeys, right? So can you share your key learnings when you moved from a person who was focused on solving a specific problem individually to moving to a place where you're also building a team, mentoring team members, and then also looking at their development as future data scientists? How was that
Yeah,
transition?
I think it's very interesting transition. I started like when I was still at Career Builder, I was leading a team, a small team of 5 people at that point. So, but Home Depot was a much larger scale. So, from building the team perspective, it's a very interesting journey. My strategy was I looked at what kind or type of data that we work with a lot. So, we have tabular data, we have clickstream data, we have text data, we have images, right? So, you have all that uh, kind of data,
Mhm,
different modalities. And then based on that, I then looked at what skill set I need. So I need people who know how to work with text. So I start looking for people with NLP background. I need people who know how to work with images. So we start looking for people with computer vision background.
mhm,
I need to work with clickstream data. So I started looking for people who know how to work with the statistical analysis and statistical modeling. And that was kind of the strategy of looking for the right people. Of course, also the team came from different backgrounds, different schools, different experiences. Some of them were senior, some of them were junior, and it is important always to have that balance between how many juniors you have in the team, how many seniors you have in the team. So overall, it was very interesting and fruitful experience to
mhm,
build a team from scratch.
mhm,
And then after you have the team, I think it is important to keep the team motivated and to keep the team inspired. That comes when you challenge your team with to work on challenging problems. So I still remember, like at the beginning, there wasn't so much of um, like challenging problems that was presented to us to work on, but then you have to step up as the leader of the data science and start educating the business partners about what data science can do, because they don't know what they don't know, right? The business partners. So maybe they feel that if we keep tweaking the existing uh, rule-based engine here and there, we can still like get things done. But they
mhm,
don't know, like if you build now a deep learning model to replace that rule-based engine, you can scale up much faster and you will get much better results and you can show much better recommendations, right? So it was also a journey to start educating your business partners about what data science can do, what business opportunities it can unlock if you
mhm,
invest in solving these problems. And that's how then you create the roadmap for your team with a lot of interesting problems to solve and keep them motivated. And then comes the development of the team and how to help your team grow within your org instead of looking for jobs somewhere else. And that's where the coaching comes into the picture. How to coach your team to simply create the next generation of data science leaders from within the team. How
mhm,
to make sure that you have people who can be the next manager, who how you can have people who can be the next tech lead, how you can have people who can be the next director, so on and so forth. And that comes with the coaching. So it was, as I said, like a very interesting experience building a team, motivating the team, and then helping them to grow within the org. And by the time I left Home Depot, I was at that point a senior director. By the time I left, I had three or even four of my ICs who joined as individual contributors promoted to managers in my org. So that
So,
was that was actually a very satisfying moment to see that the people that you hired, you invested in coaching them and training them to become leaders. And then by the time I left, four of them made it already to manager positions.
that's truly fulfilling to see
Yep.
people grow and excel in their career. Uh,
Yep.
we haven't spoken a lot about your current role at Google, right? So
hmm
elaborate on what kind of problems are you currently working on? What kind of challenges are you solving right now with Google Ads?
Yeah. So with Google Ads, my team is trying to help the small and mid-sized businesses globally around the world to maximize their return of investment from Google Ads.
Okay,
So we focus on building models that would identify the customers with the highest potential of benefiting from Google Ads. So those customers, then our ads team assign them to work with sellers and support team that actually make sure that they understand how to launch their campaign, how to optimize their campaign, and things like that. We also build models that identify like what are the right ads products or offerings the customers should be using in order to again maximize the return of ad spend for them. So overall, this is our focus: is how can we help the small and mid-sized businesses globally
hmm
maximize the value of using Google Ads for their businesses.
Mhm. And if you have to put a time horizon on, algorithms doing this by themselves, right? So a super algorithm which is helping customers optimize their
hmm
campaign. So somewhat taking this role. What sort of time frame would you put on that? So is that, let's say, 5 years away, 10 years away, or a shorter frame?
Well, no, I think Google has now some ads algorithms products that the customer can sign up for, which actually automatically try to optimize their campaign, right? But then the question is, how can you tell the customer this thing exists and what value they can get from it, and how to set up their campaign in a way that this algorithm or this product from Google can actually make all the right decisions for them to optimize their campaign and things like that.
Got
So
it.
all these things, like there is a lot of kind of pre-processing that needs to happen,
Got it.
if you want to call it pre-processing, before the customer can get actually the benefit from using the automated campaign management models that Google have. And this is what our focus is on, because again, like you're working with global small and mid-sized businesses, millions of those businesses around the world, right? And you have, on the other hand, thousands of like people within Google who can actually work with the customers directly. And the question is, which customers, right? You can select from those millions, and this is where the data science comes into the picture, right? So some customers are already, maybe they know what they're doing. They have very simple needs, and probably they can manage it without the need of more sophisticated solutions. Other customers, maybe they're not, and they don't know how to set up their campaigns. And those customers are the ones that actually have the highest potential of benefiting from working with the sales ads specialist. So um, by having data science solutions in place that would help identifying and selecting the customers that would benefit the most from working with ad specialists at Google, and maximize the output or the return of their ad spend by working with Google. All of that is something that we are focused on in our team.
Wow, great. Uh, Khalifa, just to now step back from this journey, right? You started your journey when data science wasn't even a term
Yeah.
to spending this close to now 2 decades in this domain, right? Uh, what would be some of the key messages or learnings you would want to share with people who are now starting their career, right? So the my sense is the
Mhm.
pace of development is going to grow multifold. The amount of development is going to grow multifold. So if you have to give advice to someone who is just starting their career in this domain, what would it be, or how would you look if you were starting this career to shape your career over the next few decades?
Sure. Few things. The first advice is for all the junior data scientists, I would say start as a generalist, which means don't be a specialist from the very beginning.
Mhm.
Try to gain experience in different data science is a spectrum. So there is data engineering focus, there is traditional machine learning, there is deep learning, there is natural language processing and understanding, there is computer vision, there is statistical analysis, there is causal inference. It's a spectrum, right? So if you get an opportunity as a junior data scientist to try different things before you specialize in something, I think that's the first thing I would do.
Mhm.
So try to, as a junior data scientist, try to test different things from that spectrum of data science. Then, as you get into more and more senior level, try then to specialize. Become a specialist in NLP, a specialist in computer vision, a specialist in statistical analysis, and so on. The second advice is don't stop learning because data science is a lifelong learning journey. And if you stop learning, you will find yourself outdated in no time. So you have to always invest in keep and continue learning new things, the new skills, the new models, the new techniques that comes in the data science, and especially after the generative AI revolution, it become very difficult really to stay away from what's going on for a couple of weeks, and then a couple of weeks, not months or years, and then come back to the domain to say that I know everything. No, just 2 weeks away from what's going on, you will find that, oh my gosh, I'm already outdated, right? So you need to always keep learning because this is a lifelong journey career,
Mhm.
lifelong learning career. And then the other thing is don't get attached to a specific programming language. If
Mhm.
I would just track the change of programming languages that was like hot in different phases of my career, when I started back in 2005 or so, was like Java and C++.
Yeah.
Then forward to 2013 when I joined Career Builder, Hadoop was Java. Then Spark came out and became Scala. And then after that, Python started to take over. And it's become Python and R, and then Python become the main programming language for data science. So you cannot just say I'm a Java person, C++
Yeah.
person, I'm an R person, I'm a Python person. No, you are a data scientist, regardless of what language. So if tomorrow Python is not the main programming language for data science and it is something else, you need to be ready to switch and shift to something else. So just don't get attached to a specific programming language and call yourself, I am a Python person, I am an R person. That's very important. So those are like the three advices that I would give myself if I'm a junior data scientist now is just it's a lifelong learning journey, and be a generalist at the beginning, generic data scientist, don't be a specialist, and then don't attach yourself to a specific programming language.
Great, great. Thanks for sharing that. And just a follow-up question on that, right? So we all know the importance of continuous learning. The key challenge is, how do you manage that with your day-to-day roles and responsibilities. And then one of the things you mentioned earlier was, being in conferences and
Yeah.
talking to people. uh, any other thing which you do in your day-to-day practice, which helps you keep pace with these developments, or anything which has worked specifically for you to keep up with
Yeah.
this pace?
Yeah. Other like few things I try, at least a couple of things.
Hmm.
One of them is every morning I block on my calendar 1 hour. I call it focus time. And that 1 hour focus time is when I try to go get an update from the influencers on Twitter or on LinkedIn about what's going on, what happened.
Mhm.
And then if there is a new research paper that everyone is talking about, I try to download that research paper and then read at least, the abstract and the results section to understand what's going on there, right? And later on, I would, over a weekend or so, if I find it interesting, I would put it just on to-do list and I would go read the full paper. So 1 hour every morning as a focus time to just follow what is happening in the industry and dedicate that time to read a paper or to if for example it's a new programming language that you try to learn. An hour every day is pretty much a good uh, time to start learning a new programming language and a new skill. The other thing is related to the first one, which is networking with the data science influencers and thought leaders, especially on LinkedIn. I find that very, very useful to stay up to date. If you're not like connecting with them, at least follow them. That's gonna always give you an idea of what's going on in the industry. So as I said, like part of my morning routine is I go to the LinkedIn, I look at what people, the influencers posted, in the focus hour in the morning. And then based on that, I decide if there is something that's worth diving into that day and or not. So this is like those are like the two strategies that I use or technique that I use to make sure that I am up to date with what's going on and I keep learning in this domain. And I encourage everyone to do it, especially if you have like if you are a junior person and you have more time to dedicate for that process, it's probably better to do more than 1 hour. But if you are a pretty busy person, you can at least block 1 hour in your calendar every morning for focus time, and that focus time can be used towards learning.
Got it. Great, great. Thanks a lot, Khalifa, for sharing that. In the last section of this podcast, we usually do a rapid fire round with our guests. So this is just
Okay,
to know you better as a person. So I
sure.
want you to just answer whatever are the first thoughts which come to your mind, right?
Okay,
So tea or coffee?
coffee,
Okay. Early mornings or late nights for work?
early morning.
Okay. Any specific book which had a big impact on how you approach problems and how you think about problems?
First book come to mind, What Got You Here Won't Get You There.
Okay, great, great. And how does your weekends look like? Do they involve a lot of work?
Not really, because I have kids, so the weekend is usually busy with the kids' activities.
Great. And if you had the freedom to choose one research problem to dedicate yourself to for the next decade, what would that be?
Conversational search.
Okay, great. Thanks, Khalifa, for those answers, and great insights there. A lot of learning for me personally as well, and I'm sure the community would learn a lot as well from what you shared. So thanks a lot for taking your time and then sharing those insights. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Thanks.
Thank you.